Okay. I'm here with Robert Mohun. This is John Richard, uh, interviewing my friend and colleague Robert. We're going to go over a couple different aspects of leadership and just a little bit of get to know you to get started, and then we'll go through a few questions. Robert, uh, if you wouldn't mind, in a minute or two, if you could highlight, a little bit about your current role, brief work history, prior to this role, and any other notes you'd like to share.
Of course, yeah. So I currently work for Veritas Managed Solutions. We're a low voltage installer here in California. I'm currently assigned to the Southern California operational region as a project manager. So I manage installations for customers from the RFQ stage to the warranty stage. We have a fairly large team here. I'd say it's about 30 technicians and several managers. Um, our culture is pretty dispersed. Most of us work remote. We do have an office locally, but not a lot of time spent there. My brief work history is that I'm pretty new to the private sector. I've only been here for a few years. Previously, I worked in law enforcement and I was in the military for a short period of time.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, let's get right into it then. Obviously in the military time period and in the police force, you were managing in a different way. But since you've been at Veritas, or I guess if there's stuff that's relevant from those experiences, when you first became a manager, what was the biggest, I guess, misconception thing that you had to relearn as far as leadership goes?
Right. Yeah, I would say this was. We'll have to go back here to my initial military service. So I started as a junior commissioned officer, and so most of my training was about leadership initially, and I was fresh out of college. I was quite young, had a lot, I'd read books and had some training, but there were a lot of misconceptions that were dispelled when I actually got to work and I got to my unit and was introduced to my team. I would say one of the biggest misconceptions as a leader about leadership is that you don't have to know everything. You just need to be aware of what you don't know and find out. It's more about getting people the information they need by whatever means. You either, if you have that knowledge yourself, or you have the ability to find someone who has that knowledge and connect them with the people who need that information. It's not about knowing everything or being able to do everything yourself. It's about building a team and putting people in the right place.
Gotcha. How is that translated into your current role?
Oh, quite a lot actually. I mean, I work with a group, I said about 30 technicians of various ages and experiences and skill levels, and I deal with a number of different customers that have different requirements. Like I said, I'm fairly new to the private sector, so particularly this field, I knew nothing about it coming in. I had some management experience, um, so I really had to rely on my technicians who had been working with the company or in the industry for years or decades when it came to the more technical aspects. I would defer to them when speaking with the customer if they had a technical question, and I deferred to them when it came to how we actually get these installations done. Obviously, I'm looking at the big picture stuff, budget, timeline, that kind of thing. Um, but yeah, I really had to rely on my team, not forcing down my opinions or thinking I need to know all the technical aspects myself, but I could rely on my team uh, for that information.
Yeah, I had a similar experience, and that I think a lot of times you think of managers like parents where they just tell you what to do and they know all the answers, but that's not always the case. So that's a great insight. Um, is there a specific time that you could point to where you had to literally just kind of you could point to and say, I had to unlearn this. I was all prepped up to go in with this, and then I had to, say, drop that at the door and change
I
gears.
mean, it's almost it's hard to pick out one particular event that's happened
A
so many
memorable one.
times.
Right.
Yeah. Oh golly. Yeah, it's hard to come up with one off the top of my head there. We could come back to that one maybe
Uh,
if one
yeah,
occurs to
no
me.
worries, no worries. I mean, yeah, that's it's common. Um, well, I mean, here's one. I mean, I'm sure you both in your previous experience and now, knowing your team a little bit. Uh, how do you adapt your leadership style and the way you're going about, having kind of managing your team when you're working with two different groups of people, high performers
Yeah.
and low performers? Like, what are a couple different attributes about your style that, or anyone's style that should be changed when kind of working with those two different groups?
Right. Yeah. So obviously, the easier set to deal with usually would be the more proficient types, so long as you can give them a clear expectation of what's expected, a clear guideline and a goal, and assuming you trust them, then you can just kind of let them do their thing. They require minimal supervision, just some guidance and some follow up oversight. Um, when dealing with perhaps less proficient, less motivated types, it's definitely more challenging. You have to. There's not really a one size fits all approach. You really have to get to know your people and figure out what techniques you can use to motivate them or to encourage them. Everyone's different, whether it's in learning ability or background. Um, yeah, you really have to approach it all differently. But I will say, in general, they do require more hands-on supervision, not not authoritarian direction, because you don't want to stifle the growth. You do have to give them room to grow, but they
Correct.
will need more specific direction, a little bit more guidance, a little bit more hands-on, not pulling them, but gently nudging them, guiding them. And at the end of the day, it's their decision if they want to learn and grow or not. You can bring a horse to water, but you can't make it drink.
Only do so much. Um, we can move on to another one here. I guess if someone were to, walk a mile in your shoes and shadow you for a week, what surprises might they, I mean, in your role currently, I guess, what surprises might they see as like what your time allocation is, what your, I don't know, how you're employing things you've learned in the past? Like, is it lots of novel stuff? Would it be a surprise to somebody who is just kind of coming in saying, okay, you're a project manager at a low voltage technician company, a low voltage installation company that is managing a bunch of techs. What takeaway might they have if they walked a mile in your shoes that would be different from initial assumptions?
So one of the things I've come to extrapolate about leadership or being in a position of leadership or management is that what you really are, a lot of people have this conception perhaps of leadership or management as being the guy in charge who knows everything and tells everyone what to do and coordinates this grand plan. The reality is you really don't have a lot of control. What you are really is an information conduit between the customer and the installation team and your upper management. As the project manager, your job is to make sure that everyone is on the same page to avoid mistakes down the road. I would say it's really about information management, which can be very challenging sometimes if you have a lot of different players or stakeholders in a particular uh, project, or you're managing many projects at the same time across state
Yeah,
lines, time zones, etc. It can get really challenging to manage all the details, but the devil is always in the details. So it's really important to stay on top of that and not to see yourself as that authoritarian dictator. It's very hard and very um, use a lot of leadership capital when you try to manage that way. You erode a lot of trust and a lot of good feelings from your team when you try to
sure,
manage that way.
sure.
Instead, if you have the attitude of a facilitator and information conduit, you'll be surprised how much more leverage you'll have by taking a step back that way.
Gotcha. Okay. I got one more here. I believe here. I'm not sure how long our recording is, but number when changing gears a little bit, when you're hiring, to the extent that you are in charge of bringing new people on, um, you had to like name an attribute or two that you consider the most valuable, something that maybe is harder to change. I mean, attitudes can change, emotions can change, but if there's like an attribute or two that you could really point to as like, this is what I would really look for in somebody that I'm looking to bring on, what might those one or two attributes be?
Yeah, really good question. I'm not directly involved in hiring, but I do assist with screening and potentially new technicians. Um, and just looking at the technicians that I've worked with, um, I'd say one of the top things that I look for is initiative. Um, like I said, I don't have a lot of the technical answers, and even a new technician might not have very much experience in the field, a new hire or a potential new hire. But if they have, it's kind of an unquantifiable ability, but the ability to figure things out, to go find the information without a lot of hand holding, or it turns out just asking questions is an unusual skill. And if I can find someone who knows analyze the problem, knows what questions to ask, uh, knows what people to ask those questions, or where to find the information, that's a very valuable skill in my estimation. Um, Another one is, I mean, this is unquantifiable kind of as well, but work ethic. Just showing up on time and ready to do the work and staying till the end of the day and not spending a lot of time on your phone is unfortunately a rare skill these
Right.
days. I'm not sure why that is. When I was growing up, it was chores, chores, chores. Get your chores done, and then you can play afterwards. I fortunately had some parents that held my nose to the grindstone and taught me the value of a good work ethic, showing up on time, doing what's expected, and not cutting any corners. So those two attributes, I'd say, being able to figure things out, so to speak, and being self-driven. It's almost like a form of self-respect. Like I've been given this task, I'm capable of doing it, and I'm going to do it to the best of my ability. I don't
Gotcha.
expect superheroes. Just do what's expected, please.
Understood. I mean, yeah, that couldn't agree more. Those are two things that you can't train. Like you either have it or you don't by the time you get to your working age. Self-starters and high work ethic. Um, well, Robert, really appreciate your time here. Some great insights, and our team will be reviewing and doing a presentation for our group. And again, thank you again for all the thoughts. Uh, look forward to catching up sometime.
Yeah, my pleasure, John. Thank you.
And the recording here.